and the art of conflict resolution. Join us as we hear from mental health professionals, conflict resolution experts, and everyday people who have transformed their lives through understanding and communication. Mind Matters, WESN Content Capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
WESN.
Welcome to Talking Point. I'm sure Michael Small. A lot has happened between the last time I was able to speak to you and now. There's more information with regards to the case of the death of the municipal police officer in the San Fernando station, as well as a somewhat new development with regards to Americans' intervention, military intervention in the Southern Caribbean, not in Iran, amongst other things. First, we'll go with what's happening with the case back in San Fernando. Seems to be somewhat heavier potentially than we might have initially expected. A police officer has been charged, or they are looking to ensure evidence is accurate before they charge a 28-year-old police officer. I don't believe, I have yet to see a report that confirms exactly which service he's a part of. The assumption, of course, would be municipal police, like the deceased and other officers who have been detained in the case. But it technically, I have not necessarily read that. That would be the most obvious. That would be the most reasonable assumption to make. Now, that being said, I just wanted to start off saying that I do have to credit the police service for giving out details of this high-profile case, especially since initially it seemed as though, and I don't want to assume, so I will discourage anyone from doing so, that this is merely a continuation or what could have been gleaned from their patterns of behavior before is guaranteed to be true. We don't know that for sure. Usually what happens is we see behavior and we see the pattern and we speculate on it, and it is usually correct, especially since all of the indicators usually tend to corroborate or are consistent with, in line with a certain course of direction. And generally speaking, the media, analysts, stakeholders, commenters, at some point will come to a consensus of what it most likely is. Now, initially, it is easy for me to speculate that they didn't necessarily, that is to say the authorities, want to fully ventilate the situation. Now, there are potential benign reasons for that to be the case if that was true, in that you don't necessarily know everything that went on, and the death of PC Gilks kinds of shows sometimes it's not so much about not revealing information, just not revealing information prematurely because it might not be accurate. And a situation like this being so, how to say it, unprecedented, but also not just unprecedented within Trinidad and Tobago, but somewhat of a strange, unique circumstance or set of circumstances that you don't necessarily see every day, even in most other jurisdictions whose media we consume. Because I'm sure you might be able to find stories like this throughout certain parts of the world that we don't necessarily track on a daily basis, right? So we did not necessarily get a lot of good information. On some level, I understand why the Commission is trying to say this is not the targeting of law enforcement and this is a one-time thing, or saying words to the effect that it's a one-time thing. I do find, though, those statements were still, maybe, I understand why you would say it. I don't necessarily agree with it because this involves police. And also, while I get that this should be a one-time thing, it's in the realm of police commissioners should not give their own assessments to the public, to the media, how they assess themselves, you know. They should, as McDonald Jacobs did, don't even see anything. Leave that alone. That's a no-win scenario. Saying that it's a one-off, unless you have some very objective facts that will guarantee it's a one-off, and it's not as though life ever works that cleanly. That is a potential tricky situation to entrap yourself in. Now, it seems as though this situation might be deeper than expected. And that also, to some extent, you know, takes the wind out of the sails of the whole, this is a one-time thing. Of course, there have been a scramble to respond to the situation. That is to say, all right, we seem to have a systemic problem here, at the very least with this station. What are we going to do about it now that something's bad happened? And again, this is one of those things where, and it might seem to be low-hanging fruit, obvious, you know, minimal effort, but showing us that, hey, we're going to not just expect the situation to work itself out, which sounds ludicrous for me to say now that, you know, hey, what if they just did that? What if they just kind of sat on the situation saying nothing to see here moving along? However, it does seem at times for other serious things, that is the political approach, not necessarily unique to the current administration. But perhaps, I guess, with something like this, you know, it demanded a response. That goes back to the argument about the Prime Minister actually being present. But, okay, it seems to be that the racket of selling firearms was something that was going on long before. And that is a whole new kettle of fish. Because then the implication is, one, the criminals are fine with using police guns, which again are much more easily identifiable, in theory at least, than smuggled illegal weapons, right? They will have something of a history, unless they were not treated with properly, I would imagine, because they're supposed to be ballistic tested, as was spoken to by both our soon-to-be former police officer and our media ambassador, or at least Ashraf, I believe, indicated so, right? So the criminals are fine with it, and it seems as though, at the very least, this could have gone on if it's true that this was being done months before, over a period of time. We don't necessarily know how many firearms were sold. So who knows? Perhaps the armory, the reason why the count is difficult is because they're trying to figure out how much was stolen recently and how much was misappropriated long before. If this situation didn't happen, it might have continued for some more time before it was discovered. It most likely would have been discovered at some point, because it's kind of hard to hide the fact that a portion of the armory is just missing, right? I believe one weapon was unaccounted for with the Defense Force, and it caused a whole stir. Now, the question is not so much if it will go unnoticed, but rather if it will go unnoticed and then that information will make its way to the public. But we'll never know. Can't necessarily judge people on such a speculative what if. So 8 months. 8 months is the report. And this is a situation where the head of the municipal police is going to be under fire. And on some level, this is how these things goes. If you are close enough to the situation to know the minute details, the head of the municipal police might not be that culpable with the whole thing, but it doesn't matter. Because the breach is so bad, and it happened under his watch. And it's one of those things where even if the systems in place did not afford him a proper means of getting the information, of having oversight on the situation to that minute detail. Because you're at the top, you're listening to your subordinates. You're not necessarily personally going into every station, right? But part of being the head of such a large organization, even it's not the TTPS, but still, it's large enough, right? Because there are municipal police across the country. Part of that would be to have systems in place and to ensure those systems are working. You're not necessarily going to go in every station and check every firearm yourself, but you're going to put things in place and then check on those things. So the question, of course, why didn't it work out? And what I fear happened was complacency just set in at multiple levels. And it's one of those things where, you know, in any sort of leadership, you have to know when to give and take. The problem is if you give too much, right? You can't always be demanding, even if it's a paramilitary organization. You have to know when to give a little leeway, when to kind of bend the rules a little bit here and there when you can, because you're dealing with people, right? Part of it is, I don't know at what point the TTPS is going to potentially pay a little bit more of a consequence for having such a high tempo and having so many of the officers. You can't go and leave, all hands on deck, all hands on deck again, all hands on deck again, because officers have died of natural causes ever since COVID, and every now and then you see it pop up, and we're not talking about 50-something-year-olds, we're talking about officers younger than that. And that's just one of those things where at some point people are going to look at those outcomes. People are going to look at what's happening to certain officers, and they're either going to not join up because they see the job as too stressful, or they're going to further modify their behavior. And those that might have been workaholics, and this is the sad part, the smarter you are, unless you are obsessed over the thing, the smarter you are, the more likely you are to say, look, I will do my duty, but not literally at the expense of my life to the detriment of my family. So I understand you have to kind of sometimes have a little bit room, to have a little bit of leeway. And I think, you know, this is Trinidad and Tobago, in our real place. We love to take 10,000 miles if you give an inch. So unfortunately, this is just one of those things, you know, you're at the top of the organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be your fault. Look, the guy that was in charge of Pearl Harbor when the attack on Pearl Harbor happened, it wasn't fully his fault, but he was in charge, so unfortunately he was replaced. And I think this is one of those things where we kind of need to understand, when you have certain stakes, it's not going to be necessarily fair, unfortunately. And I think we take it for granted too often that things like politics and the police service and so on, these are like normal jobs, you know? I believe on some level we treat it too much like that without understanding what such a job takes. And potentially at some point, the leadership also can fall into that trap. Not only with regards to themselves, but also with regards to how they treat with their subordinates. Because it's very easy for people, I can't speak with regards to the contracts and police officers and stuff, but it's very easy to lose a room It's very hard to motivate a room. And dare I say, I don't know if we necessarily pick guys with that level of leadership ability that can move a room that is reluctant to move. And when I say move, I mean emotionally move a room, right? Emotionally encourage people to step forward in excellence. Even when they're reluctant to do so, even when they have preconceived notions that goes against that. It's not very easy to do. I don't know if we have a lot of that in this country, period. The commissioner had a good point. He wanted to send a message to all police officers, to everybody, but especially police officers, and he spelled it out: transit police, municipal police, special reserve police, regular police, about wearing the badge, singling out the responsibility of that position, of that title, regardless of what comes before the word police. At the end of it is police. And how, well, I guess I'm going to add on to that, basically, that grave responsibility, abusing it, isn't just to the detriment of yourself, but it's the detriment to the conceptual institution that is police. Not the police service alone, but police. So, the ACP municipal, Sagram Singh, he was sent on administrative leave. Again, I'm not too sure, because it says for the duration of the ongoing investigation. This is not a case of the investigation will clear him or not. This is more a situation of what is the confidence with him at the helm moving forward. And more, how bad is the investigation going to reveal a situation? How bad is it? How far does this go? Because again, unless he is, listen, maybe it will, if there is some direct connection, maybe an investigation will cover it. I don't expect there to be. I don't expect the ACP to have anything to do with this. But that's not what his hot seat is about. His hot seat is not whether or not he was culpable or not. He most likely was not culpable, right? At least one could hope. No, his hot seat is literally, you were in the big chair when stuff happened. Now, can we trust you to stay in that chair after everything that's happened and trust you to move forward and to fix it because it happened under your watch? So to assume you're going to fix it, you're going to have that capacity, you're going to right the ship. And we're not talking about, oh, you're going to get the rowing team back on track, or you're going to get the marketing team back on track, you know, or you're going to get the CPEP crew, well, they don't exist, but you know what I mean, back on track. No, we're talking about a police service. This is not the kind of thing that we could afford to stumble for a few weeks and, you know, well, they'll figure it out. And in the meantime, assuming that their responsibilities were important, in the meantime, what's going to happen to those things? Who knows? But I think one of the things with this situation is that if the ACP municipal is going to be treated that way, and I'm not saying it's necessarily the best way, and it might not, like I said, if you have all the information and you're close to the situation to have that, you might determine on your own that it's not necessarily a fair outcome. But fair in the sense of the details, but it is fair in the sense of that's, in general, when you reach that level of responsibility, that's how it works. When a CEO stumbles, they're supposed to be removed. Lord only knows why Disney shareholders just allow that situation to persist. I do know, but I'm not going to get into that. The thing is, okay, if we see that kind of thought process for ACP municipal, what about everything else? What about everything else? Now, an elected official is a little bit different. because that'll really come down to the population. And ironically, if the population doesn't have enough of an issue with what elected officials are doing, one could argue you just had to wait it out, right? You just had to wait it out. That would be the ethical thing to do. You just have to wait it out. But the theory, the concept of bearing the responsibility and being held accountable, because at the end of the day, if it went bad under your watch, it's very difficult to re-instill public trust in a situation if you're still there. Essentially, that's what happened with the previous administration's last significant, in terms of tenure, Minister of National Security. Over time, the trust was eroded and people were not going to recover that trust on their own, given the fact that the leadership did not change. And there wasn't necessarily a lot of confidence in the political leadership of that situation. And eventually of the Commissioner of Police, that's right. So on some level, if this is done to the ACP, I will understand it. I will understand it because at that high of a level of leadership, that's how these things goes. But what I won't necessarily understand is if we'll be willing to just do this thing, those who are involved, or accept this thing, the rest of us, the general public, but yet somehow that potential standard will be just limited to this one situation. If we want to run our affairs under certain guidelines, it needs to be across the board. It's very easy, of course, the same people that might take issue with ACP municipal, when it comes to their own situation, we need to be more understanding and stop being ridiculous. Now, granted, the current government hasn't necessarily done anything to reach that point. That's more the previous government. But it's one of those situations that we've never really seen our leaders be held to that standard. That's why in the United Kingdom, for better and for worse, you saw multiple prime ministers of the same party, from Boris Johnson, and I think it was 3 or 4 after him, from the Conservative Party. He stumbled first in a controversial way, but not necessarily in a major practical way. It wasn't that the whole office party got COVID because they did the wrong thing during the pandemic. It was the fact that they were saying, they were condoning, they were putting out certain messages, and then seemingly were very hypocritical because they did not practice what they preached. And the potential breach was enough. It was enough to be a controversy. The hypocrisy was enough to be a controversy. And Boris Johnson's leadership of his party, position as prime minister, that was all taken away. That all went away. And like I said, it was for better and for worse, because it seemed like they weren't able to stabilize themselves after that. And it turned the situation into a bit of a mess. I understand that. But on some level, I'd rather go through that process than to just kind of ignore a situation and leave it alone. Because there is a report in today's papers that a cabinet reshuffle is not on the cards. Now, when I hear it, what I fear will come to pass is something similar to what happened with regard to the situation in the last administration, like with Fitzgerald Hines, where, well, they just sat on it. we've already had less than ideal situations, particularly, and I guess there's something to be said about national security, particularly with national security and the messaging coming from the political leadership of the multiple ministers in that overall cluster. Now, I get it, the Prime Minister is trying to show confidence in our ministers because perception is a hell of a thing. It can be used against you, it can work against you if you're not careful, and you don't want to be unnecessarily negative to destabilize the situation. I understand that, I get that. But I do fear that it's interesting that here we have the head of the Municipal Police Service and he's being held accountable, but I've yet to necessarily see anybody else in national security be similarly held accountable. The head of the SSA, that was a whole other kettle of fish, because allegedly he had some degree of involvement or approval directly of the situation, right? Allegedly, of the alleged situation. But this is different, and we have seen situations in the prisons with regards to the Defense Force, with regards to the Coast Guard, and of course within the TTPS itself. We have seen situations. Now granted, the capacity to discipline, to hire, to fire, to promote, etc., it varies from position to position. I think the Commissioner of Police position is in a very unhealthy place, particularly because of what happened with the Police Service Commission a few years ago. And I wonder if this administration, if they are serious about crime fighting, and I believe something was said to this effect before, what are they going to do with regards to stabilizing that situation and improving it to move forward so that we don't have these issues? Because accountability in law enforcement, in national security, is extremely important. It's even more important, day-to-day accountability is even more important there than, say, most other areas of the public sector, with the exception of maybe the utilities and the airline, even though that's technically not public sector per se. But because we're talking about lives, right? In a lot of these cases, even utilities to some extent can be life-threatening if, you know, they are deprived to too severe a degree. A random ministry office day-to-day, all right, yeah, you can make some stumbles there. You know, people will get upset, but it's not going to harm anybody for the most part. But these things are important, and this is one of those things where the current administration is going to pay a little bit of a price, because the previous administration is really where we have been seeing our patience wear thin on accountability on national security issues. And just replacing and saying, we'll do better, is technically not enough. Psychologically, we need to see better. And unfortunately, you don't get to reset and start at a normal level and have capacity to make some stumbles of your own. No. The stumbles were many already made. And now to have confidence in the system, you need to right the ship and have positive outcomes. Otherwise, it's only going to get uglier. And again, it's not going to necessarily be fair. And I've been saying that with regards to this conceptually from the beginning. The perception is a holdover from the previous administration, from the situations that caused the previous administration to be not voted for, so essentially voted out of office. So, how are you going to treat with this moving forward? Because we as a population should be more on the ball about things like this. Because if you're not careful, you will end up with a government doing things like what you see, depending on what news sources you track and what you prioritize. And this is where the algorithms could work against you. But just case in point, you could look at New York City, you could look at Seattle, you could look at Detroit, You could look at certain other cities in America, Oakland, I believe Chicago, and see where certain things are going off the rails. Because the politicians have their own ideas in their head. And essentially, that's what happened with a lot of entertainment media. They had their own thoughts on what they believed was right for the public. And then when the public didn't support those endeavors, they blamed the public. Not too dissimilar to when the public questions politicians, all of a sudden, politicians want to lash out in anger at the population, at the media. If we're not on the ball, a lot of stuff could go by that we're not aware of. If we want a certain level of accountability, we kind of have to demand it regularly, not just once. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, hopefully we'll be switching gears quite a bit for Talking Point. Stay tuned. Show Michael Small. We'll be right back after this.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Hi, I am Emiliana Beechan and I am a mental health and conflict resolution consultant. Welcome to Mind Matters, the show where we explore the intricate world of mental health and the art of conflict resolution. Join us as we hear from mental health professionals, conflict resolution experts, and everyday people who have transformed their lives through understanding and communication. Mind Matters, WESN Content Capital.
There are limitations in all healthcare sectors,
Correct.
not just this country,
Yes.
where the numbers will surpass the amount of doctors and nurses to provide that quality care. When we're talking about holding a patient's hand, giving them the support, emotional support that they need, advice, that gap.
Yes.
You are providing that pivotal gap, so that really makes you stand out from all other NGOs as far as my experience goes.
Yes, I actually go into the homes also of the patients.
All right, we're back here and talking about the WES. And while I wait on our guest who will change the direction of the conversation, they're not here just yet, so we'll continue because I haven't necessarily gone too deep into some of the more explosive, to borrow the terminology used by one headline, explosive details with regards to this case, because it seems as though this was not, again, with regards to the theft of the guns, this was not a one-off thing. There's also, I've heard some stuff that the deceased officer herself might have been involved in the situation in some way. Obviously, she did not intend, she was not a willing participant in her death, in her murder. But some degree of the investigation, I don't know to what evidence they have to corroborate this or to prove this, but some of the things that they have potentially uncovered is the fact that the station records were being covered up to falsify the stolen guns. So that's how, you know, which on some level that seems somewhat obvious. You're stealing the guns, you have to cover it up somehow. But also that municipal police vehicles were being used to transport drugs and guns and to escort gang members during criminal activities, which could also be situations like what I've heard in the past where you make a roadblock and all of a sudden you see the suspect drive past the roadblock in a police vehicle, right? But also saying that the deceased facilitated this. Now again, I don't know what evidence they have, and this goes back to what I said before, when now, in light of this, I could agree with not wanting to give out details publicly initially, right? Because again, don't necessarily know what the situation is. Don't rush to give out information. But information has still come out on a timely basis because, look, the week isn't even over yet and stuff has come out. Now, I don't necessarily know if it's a leak or if some of it, or if it's an official report. The Prime Minister, her statements, of course, saying that this has been going on for months. At the very least, that is an official speaker. So while it's not, yes, an official letterhead and written document with a signature and a stamp and all of that, it is an official statement from the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And what's interesting in one of the reports is that the police are considering, this is in today's Express, I believe, explosive claims, murdered officer implicated in multiple crimes, right? So again, I don't know if you could say, if the reporter could say everything and this is guaranteed. They are looking into these things. These are, at least on a technical level, regardless of how true it is, I don't know what evidence the police has to prove certain claims or certain theories in the investigation. I could just go as a member of the media saying they're looking into things, they're probing things, they're exploring certain possibilities, that the reason why she was killed was there was a dispute on the amount of firearms to be sold. And that's one of the reasons why it was confusing, because there's things that indicate that not only was the murder suspect and other men brought into the station, there's implications on the why that are separate to the case. And I'll just say that and leave that there, right? There's speculation and implications that I don't know how accurate they are. I heard them before, didn't necessarily have a way to corroborate them, so didn't necessarily want to say it and spell it out. But I do believe that potentially all of that could have confused the issue. Was it a crime of passion or was it a theft? I mean, how do you use a theft to cover up a crime of passion, a theft on that scale of 100 police-issued firearms, potentially, and only to find out that it might have been a crime of passion, just not necessarily passion that some of us would have thought. So, I mean, passion in this case might technically be incorrect. And of course, this has to some extent rocked the community. The police officer that was arrested, I believe one report says municipal police officer. Right? So one report says municipal police officer and gives his name, so maybe the other reports were trying to not give out information, or they just didn't have it. 43 firearms and 929 rounds of ammunition have been recovered. The problem with that, of course, is potentially a lot more ammunition is out there from this theft, or it was already stolen and the theft was covered up. So this is one of those things where with regards to the government's claims of, well, we're safe, everything is fine, murder rate is down, I understand that. In fact, even in one of the stories where the Prime Minister is talking about no cabinet reshuffles. And to be honest, while there are certain ministers I would love to see go, I don't necessarily want to see a cabinet reshuffle, right? And to say that there's a smoking gun I could point to say this minister or that minister, we should be demanding they lose their job. I don't have that. I can't say that. All I have is my personal opinions on them, right? But that is not enough to make an objective statement of fact. So, but let's not get too sidetracked. She points in that report, she is quoted, so on the issue of no cabinet reshuffle, she's speaking about government job performance. And she's looking at the murder rate being down by 42%. And serious crimes down by 30%, right? And she wisely said, while I'm happy about that reduction, I think there's still much more to be done. But it comes with the caveat that, while the murder rate was down before the election, you could try to deny that all you want, but as far as I remember the reporting, the murder rate was down before the election, and it stayed down during the election. Now, the reasons for that, we haven't gone into it. Correlation does not mean causation, but that's not to say that the Prime Minister was not proven right, at least in some form, because she called for a state of emergency as leader of the opposition. But I think it's not so simple because, as was pointed out by callers, by news articles, do people feel safer even though the murder rate is down? And now we have to see how will this bear out, because at the end of the day, one of the quickest ways to undermine any sort of situation is to have the people involved in that situation directly on the positive side of the ledger, the ones that are supposed to be cleaning up the situation, preventing it from getting worse, trying to ensure that not only is it reduced but at a sustainable, acceptable level. The fact that at the very least one of their own, and according to reports, 2 other officers who were in the building at the time of the situation in that police station, they were, I believe, detained, as well as 2 other female police officers, right? I assume, well, of course, the first 2 municipal police, the second 2 I assume to also be municipal police. There seems to be a whole municipal police situation where there's varying degrees of involvement or negligence. And think about it, during a state of emergency, this kind of situation was created. It's very difficult to say, yes, we feel safe. Now, the Prime Minister also did say you could never communicate enough. There are some people who will never be happy no matter what we do. You can't please everybody all the time. I understand that. That's a very true statement in a vacuum. But I think objectively, the current administration has not been communicating enough. I appreciate what the police and what she herself has communicated with regards to this situation, but ultimately speaking, in the long run, I can't say that this is an example, this administration is an example of one that is good at communicating. Yes, you can never communicate enough, but you can try. And the problem is, her reasoning is, she argued, no level of outreach would satisfy everyone. It comes off the level of outreach that you are conducting Madam Prime Minister, comes off as the level that you want to do, and you're essentially saying it doesn't matter how much more we do, so let's not bother with the more, let's just do the minimum. That's how it comes across to me. And I could be wrong, but this is just one of those things again where you need to understand it's not about what's fair and what's accurate, it's about what the public, the general public, will perceive. And as much as some people might say that I'm being too hard on the government, I'm trying to find a middle ground, believe it or not, to make a reasonable hypothesis to work from. Because I myself am surprised at times that no matter how strong of a stance I take, there seemingly is always a subset of the country that has a much harsher criticism than I do for whoever is in charge, for whoever is on the hot seat in that situation. So I'm trying to find some middle ground, especially since I'm not saying I think it's bad, this is why it's bad. I'm saying I think this is how the public will perceive it, and usually, obviously supporters will not perceive it this way, but usually for the people who are not diehard supporters of the political party in question, there will be at least a subgroup of that, a not small subgroup of that, who will be harsher than I am. So when I say people will perceive it a certain way, understand it's not because I like it so, want it so, or determine it to be so, or chose it to be so. I am trying to give a impartial view of it as a warning as much as anything else. Don't underestimate the public like that and then be surprised when they are even more upset with you the following day. All right, we take the break. Our guest is here. Switching gears as promised. Stay tuned. This is Talking About the WESN, the Connect Capital. We'll be right back after this.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the content capital, is expanding, and we're looking for dynamic media sales executives to join our team. Sell powerful advertising solutions across television, digital, and social media platforms, and help brands tell their story. If you have strong communication skills, a passion for sales, and the drive to succeed, join WESN today. Send your CV to marketing@wsncc.com or WhatsApp 6861662 and start building your future.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man
is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement. If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, Contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing@wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
wanna
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'll ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Contender say he's doing it live at 75 in his big annual birthday concert as he celebrates his Diamond Jubilee in the art form. 60 years. Friday, 24th April at City Hall Auditorium with some of the biggest calypso and extempo stars featuring all-rounder and the Hendrickson family, Johnny King, Twiggy, Hamidullah, Kaiser Mack, Master G, the youthful Jamie Edwards, Scaro, Dr. Will B with extempo Bacchanal by Black Sage, Myron B, Niall Manswell, Gary Ramps, and the birthday boy himself, Contender. MCs Shirlene Hendrickson and Omari Ashby. Sound system by Junior Soy Production. Get your tickets now at only $150 at Crosby St. James, Tugo North Zone office, and at the door on the night of the show. It's birthday vibes for Contender's 75th birthday. Friday, 24th April, City Hall Auditorium, Knox Street, Port of Spain, from 8 p.m. as Contender celebrates his Diamond Jubilee in Calypso.
And we're back here and talking about the WSN show. Michael Small, joined by the one and only, the man himself, going straight to the top on this one, Mr. John Contender. Welcome to Talking Point. Glad to see you.
It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Now, I think this might be the first time I get to talk to a Calypsonian that's been in the game for as long as you have. Your Diamond Jubilee, 60 years. First of all, how does that make you feel that you've been able, because you're throwing this concert, so you've been in the art form for the majority of your life, having a career that spans on some level or another for 60 years, being a practitioner of Calypso, extempo, being able to continue with this passion, because I assume it's a passion for if you're doing it for so long.
Most definitely. Well, to start with, I would have been the junior Calypso monarch in 1966, 1967. So, you know, if you do the math,
yeah,
you're 66 and 34, and then 26. So that's 60 years. I would have, Relator, I always like to say that Relator was 1965. Because he's a notable Lord Relator. I mean, Relator in Kaiso is Relator, right? So Relator was 65, but he didn't defend, eh? So next thing Relator listening to me and tell me I'm making people feel I beat him, I dethrone him, you know? But there were a number of other few Calypsonians around then too, eh? From who are still now.
Yes.
Organizer is one.
Yes.
We were an anti-K program then. I remember leaving school. I'll give you some history here too, eh? I remember leaving Tranquility. At the age of 14, I was then. I leave in Tranquility to go to Woodford Square in 66 to enter the competition. I leave home with my clothes and things, you know, to go and perform. Right. So I go to school. I know one of the schools straight in the square. And Auntie K, well, you might have heard about Auntie K, but she was a lady who would have done programs for youths, for children. Auntie K program, and number of top artists would have come from Auntie K, Kathleen Warner, would have come from her program, Auntie K's program, right? A number of the leading artists. You would go there and we would perform like how Hazelwood had her program. Yeah. You're more familiar with Hazelwood, but that was a continuation.
I mean, I was still kind of young, even, you know, back then.
But then, so it was Auntie K before Hazelwood, that kind of thing. And I would have gone down there and performed a song of Calypso named Strike, by the name of Strike. And the square, I had the place in stitches, and there it was. When I went to school the Monday, you see, Saturday morning, because that competition was held on a Friday, Saturday morning on the Daily Express, no, the Daily Mirror, you see, Mark is king of junior Kaiso men. Boy, in school they say so, when I went Monday, they say, so when you do this, how does it happen? Yeah. And, but they were proud of me, you know, and there's a guy, he will be in that concert, God willing. He, Frank Walters, I can call his name, he left school with me and to come to sing chorus for me, you know. So he left school and we went down in the square and he's singing chorus for me. So up to today we are friends.
Right.
As a matter of fact, he called me there on the phone there, he said, you know, he liked to come and tell people, boy, when that man went in 66, I was there, boy. He gave $50. You know how much he gave me? Because the price then
was
$50 from Sparrow and a watch from Kitchener. Kitchener would have given you a watch.
Well, $50 back then would have been a little bit. Money. There you go. Yeah. You know, you could get a good few meals out of that.
What? And you could lime, you could do all kind of things. So that was a little history of and then the next year, the 67, I retained the crown because I went over in the City Hall. That one, the first one took place in Woodford Square in 66, and 67 was at City Hall.
Where
the concert is
going to be.
So it's an honor for me to tell the people, the audience.
Almost bookending. Well, let's not say, let me not use that term because we don't want to say that this is the end. This is not the end, right?
Nah. You think as long as.
But at least you are coming back in a way to, not necessarily where it started, but one of the locations at the beginning.
So, and I wanted to tell them, hey, my thing in 67 when I went was here on this very stage. But the thing is though, we could talk so much. I am one of the people, I'm the chairman at Tuko North Zone, right? And the executive at Tuko North Zone runs the classic Russo Calypso tent, which is situated, which is at City Hall, So I'll be on that stage regular.
Right.
That's our home.
But I mean, that might be for Tuco, but this is different though. This is your Diamond Jubilee.
It is my
This is your live at 75.
Live at 75.
But I'm still curious because this is not something you hear every year, somebody at 14. Because you didn't go to compete in Junior Calypso Monarch. You went to compete in the Calypso Monarch competition.
No, that...
Oh, this is Junior?
But this was before Junior.
Right.
So Junior came some years after this.
So my point is, at 14, you're telling yourself, hey, you know what? I'm gonna leave school. I'm gonna sneak out, right? I'm gonna take one of my partners with me,
right?
And I go compete with all of these guys.
Yeah, but which was the young people like myself.
Okay.
So that way, you had to be under 16 and thing to compete in that then, eh?
Okay.
So it's the same Junior Calypso, this is what I'm saying.
Right.
Junior Calypso now is an extension of that.
Right.
You know?
But what at 14, what made you think you could?
No.
Was it that you just saw guys and girls performing before you, and you're like, this is I want to do this?
What actually happened then was, at that point in time, you would have had 2 radio stations.
Right.
Guardian and Radio Trinidad. And Radio Fusion was part of Radio Trinidad, right?
Right.
So you were not exposed to the kind of amount of radio stations they have now and TV stations, right? So you either switch your radio from Radio Trinidad, Radio Guardian, right? So on a number of the calypsos that we were listening to is either way. That's why calypso was, I should say, so embedded in a number of us. That's where you would listen to. Radio Guardian, Radio Trinidad, and the Sparrow, and the Kitchener, and the Dukes, and these fellas, right? But I was inclined to have a likeness for humor, right? The humor-flavored stuff. So what we would get on these radios, if you want to follow Calypso and you're interested, at that time they would have had Calypso 10s broadcasting from South. That was Shorty and all them boys were. They started Shorty and Stalin and the them boys were from South, you know. And thing. So I would listen to the radio, tune in and hearing Calypso from South. And then they had Calypso 10s live at the Calypso 10s. So they would bring over Sparrow and Kitchener and them 10s at that time too. So that's how I started to follow the Calypso, right? And at that age, you find, well, my favorite, as I said, person who I pattern and would have followed is Kelvin Pope, Duke, right? Even some of my gesticulations, you could kind of see Kelvin Pope in it. And it was good that I come to be friends with Duke. Went through, that was one of my friends in Calypso, and you always say, boy, you and Kelvin, all you moving, boy. And me and Kevin, I get to know these fellas and be singing with them. So here it was. I come to be part of the Calypso arena alongside people like these fellas, you know.
And you weren't intimidated when you now started off?
Nah. I mean, I used to be taken aback and be, you know, I was impressed by these kind of people, you know, and listening to them, seeing them rehearse. And Calypso was a whole different thing, you know, then, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to, as a matter of fact, because I'm interested in Calypso, I would have, in the night, I know when 8 o'clock I had to be inside, right? They lock the door, they take off the light or whatever. If I ain't come inside, I'll lie in outside. But you know, you had, and I feel that was good, eh? So how we might want to look at it. Your parents had a kind of hold on you, and you had some discipline then.
Yes.
But with all of that now, I saying, you see that? I go down, because I live in Laventille, right up the road by, well, I call it East Morin. I even name a song East Morin, because you know down so is West Morin.
Right.
But up the hill in Laventille is East Morin.
Okay.
So I would have learned the way to original Young Brigade. So when I come from Miami, I headed straight down Duke Street. Straight from up by Piccadilly Street, straight down to Duke Street. Watch the Kaiso, watch Brigo and them fellas, watch Sparrow and them, and after half an hour, 3/4 hour, back up the road. Straight back up and up by me. I wasn't no set of movements to swing this way and swing that way. And when I reach home, the light off. I knock in the door. Where the hell you was? You didn't see 8 o'clock gone, but I went and hear my Kaiso. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But eventually, you know, that I would have my way. because I would go to school, I started to go tranquil, I started to go, well, junior sec and thing, and you say, you tell your grandmother and thing, go, you know, I listening, ease me up now, man. And they go kind of, they go be reluctant, but still, they go kind of understand you. And from that 8 o'clock thing, you find I could go in 10, and that sort of thing. And then I work my way right into the thing, into the calypso thing, you know? So, going from the school in Tranquil was just the beginning again to the calypso arena.
But I mean, one of the things that I speak about now, because I am just old enough to be a young boy and still see certain calypsonians have music videos on TTT, and to still see what, you know, the competitions were like on the Savannah stage there in the 80s, and how you know, everything to do with our culture just felt different compared to now. So, and of course, you're involved with Tuco. So, what do you make of the changes, of the differences? Because I myself, I kind of look at the situation and I'm on the side of, you know, I don't necessarily always like how it seems as though calypso is not really getting the engagement with the public that it obviously used to have. There's so much more things that's, you know, drawing our attention, demanding our attention, competing. What do you make of calypso now here? You've seen more or less.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I understand fully, I can relate fully to what you're saying. Because when I came into the game, after coming out of the junior stages, well, for want of a better word, I would have now started to go to the calypso tents. So the same fellas, same people I was looking at when I used to go and take a peep from outside by the thing, I started to rub shoulders with them now. And I'm trying to get in. And my first appearance, well, I also, I wouldn't say that this wasn't a full appearance. That was somewhere in 1970. I would have gone down to, I was privileged to perform with people like Beginner, you know? Indigo Martin, because Beginner would have come back to Trinidad, and the fellas were people like Lion and there who went out and established calypso, right? And Beginner, I was fortunate to perform with Beginner as a young boy down in that tent in Indigo Martin. And subsequent to that, well, about 2 years later, after continuing, I made my full debut. No, it's in 69 and they would have been with Beginner and them. And then in 70, I would have started, tried to go into Kitchener's tent in Legion Hall. And I spent a few nights there. I'll give you some history. When you document this, you document. I'm talking and it's just flowing.
It's good, it's good.
That's right. So I go to Kitchener tent. Backsliding used to be the MC then. And I was trying to get into the tent, and but that was something else because there are a lot of people trying to get in Kai. So then,
yes,
I will hear more about that.
Yes.
So when because it is relevant to what you was talking about calypso then and now, right? And I would have tried to get into the tent, and I had to come every night now to try and get on the stage. And at night, Kitchener, and this fellow, you find the leaders of the tent would be involved, eh? So at night, Kitchener, he say, you young boy, I've seen you here in the night, oh, you know? I said, well, I tried to go on the stage, kids, you know? Mr. Kitchener trying to get in the tent, and he say, come. And he gone out in the car. Sing, let me hear you. So I sing. He say, good man, tomorrow night, come down with nice clothes. Come down to sing. And I went down and sing. The night, he tell them, put me on. Because I the boss. And I put me on, I went nice. Good enough. And we say, good. But that had a funny thing in it at the time. So I never went back on. Although I went good now.
Yeah, yeah.
I never went back on because they are the more established people and whatever. So, 71, I try again and, you know, but I keep hanging in there. 72, I made my debut now at Regal Calypso Tent, which wasn't far from Legion Hall and Independence Square. You know Legion Hall? That was the breakdown just before you cross to come onto Rice Road now.
Oh boy.
Right, that last piece of thing there, in ours they extend the promenade.
Right.
So that's the end of the promenade there.
Okay.
That hall there were number.
I might be too young and not well traveled enough in my young days to, yeah.
Well,
to remember what it looked like. I probably drove past it and everything, but yeah.
But that's the end of the promenade. So they mashed up the building, you know. Well, long time to complete the promenade. And that was the Kitchener Center, right? But up on where Customs House was up to recently, but you remember they moved Customs House now at the end of St. Vincent Street there. Customs, where Customs was.
Okay.
On the left-hand side on St. Vincent Street, right? It's at a place called Hotel du Paris. You used to have a lot of activities with ladies and what, nightlife.
Yes.
And Hotel du Paris, and I went there, 72. Chalk dust, and that's when I get to really link up with Duke and them fellas more. And Chalk dust, and they had a tent called Regal. Cheddar Guerrero was the owner of that tent, because he had two tents. That and Victory Calypso tent with Terra and Francine and them down on Rising Road, right? And I went there and I started to sing a song called Kick CD. And I mashed up the place as the Calypsonian would say now. I created a good impact. And Keith Smith, this is Keith Smith, journalist. Keith Smith was one of the authorities on Kaiso, so to speak, writing now. Keith Smith, he died not so long ago in Express, the editor, or in the Express. Keith Smith's headline was, ex-junior champ making headway among the greats, right? Because of the song I was singing now. And the way I used to open the show, right? And that was it for me there. I started there in 72, and then boom, 73. I went back by Chogdas and Duke and they, because Makandal live up Lavanti by me there. So Makandal hear me with the song, a song called Karate. And he said, come let me, well, you and Kitchener and them was good, eh? So he carried me down by Chogdas and them. And when I sing the song for them, that is the same Chogdas and Duke who I sang with in 72, right? Because 72, Chogdas had it big, you know. Afraid Carl, and it's right here, you will find your identity. Find your identity. Two big Kaisos. Chogdas was starring that year. So, next year, going down, they didn't take me, you know? And it was sometime in December, eh? Because, again, Calypso would have started plenty times Boxing Day, you know. No Calypso started in the end of January and all kind of thing. Different story. Two different times, right? So, to go by them December, and next thing is that the Calypso tent used to run. Already talking now, you know. The Calypso tent used to run from Sunday to Sunday. Not a rest. Now, about 4 days in the week, you don't have no Calypso tent.
Right.
And it's about 3. But it used to run from Sunday to Sunday. Right? So, when I went, they take me with the karate song. You know, when I went by them, I had sung them karate, and Tiger, Neville Macano, Rowland Tiger, he would have been a man, for want of a word, scouting for Calypsonians for original Young Brigade. That was Power 10, which part all the stars were, you know, Bill Chutman and the Douglas and the Sparrow and the Shorty and all these people were. That was the big tent. But power tent and kitchen tent, right? And I went, and as they didn't take me, the Tiger hear me with the song karate, and he said, hey, hear what? He went and tell Sir Taylor, and anything Tiger say, Sir Taylor take in, we believe in Tiger. And Tiger, again, the thing that's flowing with me, you know, Tiger was a gentleman who would go to, if you look at any Kaiser tent from them times, you're going to see Fat 19 ads, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't funded by no government and thing, you know.
Right.
It was the people used to get the income from the audience and the ads. And Tiger used to go and get them ads and bring them. And when he go to sell, Taylor, the owners of the tent, and not only they, he would go to all tents, right? And get 20% or 10%, or whatever the ratio was, I don't know. But somewhere around there. That was the arrangement. So, at the end of the season, the tent people will collect from the business people now, the advertising money. But I can tell you, that advertising money was lanyard because the tent used to make money.
Right.
So the tent, but them fellas had a business head. So all that, just like football now, when you have an ad, sponsorship.
Yeah.
So that was by the side. So Tiger, because of his prominence in that area, told Mr. Sil Taylor, hey, we have, this boy have a kite. So Sil Taylor, Oronga was living up the hill by me. Tiger tell Oronga, go and get this boy. So Oronga come by me and say, boy, Mr. Tiger want to see you. And things he carried by Mr. Sil Taylor. I say, what? And I was getting $15 a week. In 72, I was singing. But the arrangement was, you know, you have to write your music scores and things.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. The thing you see the musicians reading, that score.
You have to write it yourself?
No. You have to go by a musician and get written.
And get,
like Arta Di Coto and them fellas.
Right.
And Frankie Francis and these fellas. So as a little fella now, I went by them and I write my song. But that is how the management, them fellas had it good, you know, them managers, you know.
Because you were early 20s back then?
No, I was...
Oh, this is beyond.
About 18 or somewhere there.
Oh, still 18?
Yeah!
Oh, boy, okay.
At that point in time. I'm now trying to get anything 18, 19, 20. So when I go with that $15 thing now, and I'm singing, they would pay for the music, they would pay the arranger, right?
Right.
Pay Arta Di Coto or whatever, for whatever music he do. And in my case, the tent was 5 weeks. Now we don't get a tent run in 5 weeks. And then times, we used to be glad when Carnival only, the tent go run about 8 weeks. So you're getting 8 pays.
Right.
But now, most of tent running now is 3 weeks, if so much, right? But, so as a maximum now are 3 weeks, right? That's how the thing fall apart in a way, for want of a better word. So, $3 they will take out. And if they would have paid the man $15 to write my music, they will take out for the 5 weeks, $3 back to the management for paying for my music.
Okay.
So I gained 12. I used to go home with 12 in my pocket. $12.
Which again is before the 80s, so $12 then.
Yeah, but I mean,
was still
reasonable in a sense.
Because I always remember when I was young in the 90s, $12 you could get KFC for $12.
Oh, you mean?
Right. So back in the 70s, one could only imagine how far $12 could have gone.
And so what? But here's the joke, or the fact, if I say joke. When I went down to Mr. Tiger, right? Talk Sil Taylor, and Tiger came in. He said, I don't want to hear, you know, you have a song, the man says, Mr. Tiger says, I'll give you $150 a week. You see where I got from? Why you see how fast? Well, I have any thinking to think there. So from $15 to $150. So then here I go on to, with the song karate, I go on to OIB no. Because I had a partner named Stereo. He used to sing there. And as a little fella, I tell him, boy, I like to come on, because it had a bar. When you go up the step, you just go under the bar and go on the stage. So I give him talk now. I say, I want to come under that bar, you know. In that 10 day, down by OIB now, on Rice Road there, Cement and Waterfront. Cement Hall, Union Hall. And here it is, brother. I come now and I get into singing there now. Same thing what I was saying. When I used to go down Rice Road and watch them as a little fella. I used to be watching that. So here am I now, with karate. And I go on there and I start to mash up the place with karate. Karate is one of my, you know, everybody else have a signature song, right? Yeah. Like Baran. When you talk about Baran, the first time you go to Baran is Likshi, right? And in my case, it's karate. And if you go to Mandada, my papers no use. Papers no use. And everybody have a signature song then.
Well, yes.
The song that they come out with, that bring them out, right? So karate was mine. And I started, when I make Skinner, well, it wasn't Skinner Park then, it was Naparima Bowl. So I went up in the bowl, man, and mashed up the bowl and thing and whatever. But it was 2 songs then, and no one. And I had a good performance and thing, but normally, even now, you're finding somebody had 2 songs, one way out front and the next one is a backup already.
Right.
So I had a next song called Johnny and Irvin. That was my second song. But so and you had to sing 2 songs back to back, right? So I didn't take.
As in on the stage for at the same time?
Yes,
or
one time.
Wow.
So that was the point. And you performing with Shorty and all these boys down there and Saifan. All the big names you could think about. But as a little fella and I gone. So I performed. And that year Shorty sing Art Making Love and Indrani. That caused a big thing when Eric Williams, the Prime Minister, get in and whatever. The ban Art Love and all of that. But the point is, I was popular enough that one of the judges come and tell me, the man go down, he said, have a toss up, boy. But you and Shorty. This history again here. I don't talk these things so. But it's flowing now. He said, have a toss up. So that my first year going up there, I was in the mix. Because he said, well, Shorty edge you out, boy. They say that they can't Shorty Savannah.
Yeah.
I was a big, poor me, I think I studied the Majga and all of that. I wasn't studying that. But the Calypso, you know what I mean? So I sing my 2 songs. But I say that to say that subsequent to that, I never stopped singing Calypso. No year ever stay out of Calypso. Right? 1 year, and I feel I have the history of singing in the most Calypso tents. Because I went from, it don't have a Calypso tent, hardly have any Calypso tent. And it had plenty Calypso tents, that I hear singing. One of the tents I sure never singing was Shadows Masters then. But you call any other tent. And I was a fella kind of rude in my own way. Because I was writing my Calypso and thing,
Right, of course,
And so I would make a song, sometimes you fall out with somebody. As I say, I'm talking here, you fall out with that tent manager or for whatever reason. And I say, look, I gone from here, and I gone. And another tent. And they form another tent, and I gone, and I sing in all kind of Calypso tent. And I could do it, because I remember somebody telling me, down by Sparrow tent after 73 and 74, after Karate, and then the next year I sing Art Making Love. Shorty reply, and then the next year, I think it's in 75, they had a way, they want to put me on and thing, and I say, see me, if they put me on, I want to pay. Right? And Tiger tell me, he say, boy, you don't do that, you know, because they make all the check and they bring for me, you know. And I say, well, he said, no, well, if you want, because I have to respect Tiger because what he do for me.
Of course.
So, and he tell me, Mr. Selling go like that and thing. I say, all right, I take the check. I say, but I don't mind getting paid because them Caisonians and them, I don't want to call them a big popular Caisonians, tell me, but you joke, you sit down and you getting paid? Where you fighting? My principle ever since was, I want to free ride just so. if you put me on, and if I do perform, you could, I ain't going to get paid, right? But don't just put me on and pay me. I ain't taking that. Let me prove myself. If my guy so fail, well, all right, I go come and sit down like everybody else and take my money. Because when I'm mashing down there with karate and all them things, and a lot of people getting paid. And they are singing.
Right.
But the point is, don't let me sing and pay me. And I take the check, and when they put me on, I sing a song named Tribute to the Caribbean. The crowd, I say, well, right now I prove my point. So if they want to put me on, don't put me on. And if you pay me, I will take it. And they ready to put me on. But I still believe that I still live, you know, I feel so. I still say, nah, boy. But anyhow, subsequent to that, I come and sing in all kind of calypso things, right? I say that to say too, that you were making a very, and I was listening to you were making a very significant point in that calypso then, because here what you say. You see now, you see then, on a Friday morning and a Saturday morning, even Thursday and thing too, because Wednesday night used to be labeled ladies' night. So Wednesday night, the tent used to be ram cram. Then Thursday, that was leading up to weekend. So the tent almost full. And you see Friday and Saturday? Friday morning, I tell you where I experience and where I know. And plenty of Calypsonians don't care tell you that. And they didn't experience that. I experienced it. So I and all those wonder like you. Because of my experience, on a Friday morning, police on horseback, horses controlling the crowd from getting Calypso tickets, and like I seen it. Because Fat Boy and them fellas, Fat Boy was a hustler, I might tell you about Fat Boy. We'll buy out all the tickets. Or buy out plenty, black market, just like now.
I just want to, there's so many things that you brought up. That is essentially the same thing. Calypso started on the 26th, and then some people want to complain, hey, they're playing soca in the radio from the 26th.
Yes.
It's like, well, it happened before. And all of the controversial subjects, you know, the ticket, the scalpers, like
the scalpers,
ladies' night. It's so interesting how it's not just a modern phenomenon, or you know, a lot of the things that it was happening all back then, just because it was an older time.
And if you even put it to Calypso, you notice when them young soca boys now make a remix, some people doesn't even know it's a remix, you know.
Right.
Everybody getting down on the soca train. They didn't know that was gypsy song. But that's gypsy song. And it's Maximus Dan who do it over. And they feel, well, ah, boy, Dan. But that was gypsy song, right? And I'm saying that a number of songs now, if you know, but it's not exclusively Kaiso, because people take a number of them big songs and do them over.
Footsteps is the one that I'll always remember.
Yeah.
Because that was taken Every Breath You Take.
Yeah. But I'm talking about necessarily a Calypso. Them boys taking Calypso now.
Yes.
And doing over the ones that Kitchener would have done and Sparrow would have done.
Not to take away from the current Calypso monarch, because she had a powerful performance, you know, and Mr. Francis had a powerful performance, and there are great Calypsos, but there was something about the Calypsos that I remember in my childhood where the art form seemed even more like a culture, not a social commentary, but such a diverse, cultural, entertaining phenomenon that had a flavor. I don't know how to describe it. The closest thing that comes to mind is the song The Old Time Days. There's just a certain flavor, yes, of all the video from that time and the music from that time and the feeling of that time.
The point I was making before we went off to that, as if you watch the crowds then.
Of course.
You will see thousands of people because it had a north stand and a grand stand, right?
Yes.
And you're talking about people filling up the house. I will go back to this, but the point I was making is that when the scalping thing come in, them places used to be filled with patrons. And when somebody couldn't get in a tent on that weekend was problems. Right? Then you go down to where Blakey leaves Sparrow tent and went up and opened a tent called Victory a little further up by the fire station. And they used to full too. As a matter of fact, Blakey went one step further, which was Telegraph tent, right? And that is the first time contracts were introduced. So,
things are modernized. Yeah.
Yeah. And he went up there, and Blakey started to, tent was starting 8. Blakey started to start at 10:07 to facilitate the crowd and do 2 shows on that night. So you're done, you finish a show and you start back another show. All that patronage is that in Calypso, you know. People thirsty for Calypso, you know.
You might not even see that with not just Calypso, but if you take all live performances now, you know, and put it together, it still might not match what that was.
Big rush down by Sparrow, and you still at Blakey doing 2 shows up the road. All nice people.
But
patrons coming to Calypso now.
Can you think of, did you notice the change or did it just happen over time?
No, it happened over time. It happened over time. But listen, I will get to this, but listen, I was going to make a point there. Oh, the point I was going to make is that, no, plenty of people are aware. You might not even be aware, but you're walking, you could walk in, or you couldn't get tickets then, right?
Yes. You
could walk in the Calypso tent now, any Calypso tent, and get the best seat.
Right.
Because it's available.
Yeah.
There's no rush and no, right? But, coming to the point that you were making, in the sense of the patronage, right? One of the major, but it has some things I don't like to talk about too, deliberately, let's stay away from it. The patronage, I like to break it down this way. In them times, parents used to have the children with them, go to the Kaiso tent, wherever. It used to be that kind of thing.
Yes.
But in my take, some Calypsonians, some experts, Calypso aficionados, or whoever might disagree with me. But I feel there's 2 main things responsible for this, in my opinion. One is when, for some reason, it wasn't intentional or deliberate. But you see the advent of the Calypso and soca.
Right.
Soca was started to be perceived as young people thing.
Right.
And it when you say, I want to tell you it's over time.
Yeah.
It wasn't washed, you know.
Yes.
It started to go that way. So when the soca mona started, it takes some years for the crowd to start to gravitate towards the soca and thing. So it started to look, but fortunately it had some youngsters who stay in guys. So you see the Karen Ashes and the Dwayne O'Connors and 2, 3 of them people stay in Calypso. You know? And then the soca mother started to pull all them thousands, you understand?
Yes.
So it started to be like young people and old people thing, to a certain extent. The next thing is, put it this way, and it has some relevance with the old people and young people. That's why we continuity of support.
Of course.
Or patronage. The age group, watch it, them people who are talking about, who were packing the tents, you know what I'm telling them? They are the same people, sadly though, 90%, to a certain, if I want to use a percentage. So that time, if you had 100% Calypso fans, now, 2 things, a number of them migrated, and went to
of course
American thing. And those are the same people who can't, because you have everybody going up north, and they had a calypso tent. I was fortunate to get a last taste in the calypso tent that they used to have in Abba. I said, but I always hear about this tent up in New York, boy. And I was fortunate to get up there. And the last year I went, I forget whatever year it is. I went and I performed in the tent, right? But I say that to say, it's the same people from here who used to be packing them tents and things, who went up and lived in New York and started to bring up the Calypsonians up there. So you take the same kind of Calypso following from down here,
right,
and you carry it up there. So you used to feel at home going up there, them Calypsonians, right? After Carnival and thing. But here what? So if you had 100 people, I'm using 100 as a figure to demonstrate what I mean. Out of them 100 people, it's basically the same audience that continued to support Calypso over the years. Now it narrow, you get my point?
Yes.
So
right
now, it shrink right down. So right now, that 100 might be down to about 15% right now. And it's the same 15% that will be going wrong. What used to be 100 to service
every time.
Right now. That's one of the problems. You didn't have a continuity the audience growing. It's them same 100 people.
Yeah.
And some of them get stroke, some of them migrate, some of them, well, they're sick, and the crime thing now put more thing on it.
Is there anything that, this might be to oversimplify, but is there anything you wish maybe Calypso as a whole might have done differently? Just one thing that might have made a difference? Or not really? You think it was just so many little
things? Well, as I
things?
say, the foresight wasn't there to see the part with the soca and thing, eh?
Yeah.
To try and tie them, because brother and sister,
of course,
in my thing.
Especially since you're using remixes of Calypso
for
some soca songs.
The audiences, you know? And that's when it started to slip away, you know.
I feel also because of the split, certain styles of melodies almost went with soca. When those, because look, the same thing with the remixes. Those melodies and those musical styles kind of, they're no longer there as much in Calypso, because I just find to my ear it's a bit more serious and straight. Yes.
Yeah. And this is one of the things, the problems I had about soca, correct that to a point, eh? Because similarly, jump up, wave. But the pieces just paint soca that way. But the soca people doing messages and things in songs now.
Right.
And so it's not only a jump and wave.
Yes, of course.
So because look, if you put it in the way that even Shadow sing Kaiso and come and win the soca monarch.
I mean,
with stranger.
Here's the thing. How much different is groovy soca to Kaiso? Really, if you think about it. You know?
That's the beat and the thing, but especially a groovy soca with a message.
Yes.
So, because Super Blue win the soca monarch too. That is Kaiso. That's not soca, that's Kaiso.
Yeah.
So Shadow win with Stranger. And Ronnie McIntosh and these fellas doing soca, Kaiso. You know, Super Blue. You know, so it's that relationship. But I'm just saying too that that's where the thing, you know, that's one of the things they could have to revisit in terms of the crowds. And if you look at the same thing I'm talking about, they had something called the Clash of the Giants. That might be the way before you. There was a Monday night, the last Monday in the Carnival week, when you had something called the Clash of the Giants. I was privy to being part of that on a few occasions. Well, especially sparrow tent and kitchener tent, or sparrow, and then spectacular come in. They start to make it a three-way. When you go in the savannah, North stand full, Grand stand full. Clash of the Giants. People used to come up there. Some people used to just wait for that. It was like a kind of fiesta in a sense. So when the tents clash, North stand and Grand stand full, right? And that used to be the start of the carnival week.
Right.
So all the people from New York and thing coming down here
to watch that
used to come down and start the carnival with that Monday night in the savannah with the clash. And when you're done that clash there, that's all the, with gypsies use our word. I used to hear him say Merrick Dadians. Them three are Merrick Dadians. When they come down, they start up there in that savannah that Monday night and for the rest of the week, you know? So, but I don't know exactly how and why that fall apart. It starts from there, you know. You see that Monday night? And when you leave there, you used to go straight down to P&M Fete in Balize House. That was the progression.
Right.
And then during the week, it had Harvard and whatever. But that Monday night, well, as you said a while ago, you're replacing that now with ladies' night out, wherever.
Yeah.
It had about 4 big things take the space of that in the week.
Well, not just that. I mean, because of course, you know, in the past you had Marshall Monday, but for the most part, throughout that whole week,
everything you get
and the weekend before, you had fete after fete after fete after fete. So even if you didn't have a big fete like Marshall Monday, there's a good chance people will be so tired now if they want to go to all these fetes. Like that, for better or worse, that became where the population engaged with the culture more than anything else. And I do, again, a lot of people lament how commercial it's become. And perhaps it's also just we haven't necessarily tried to figure out a different way.
Yeah. And that is where, you see that whole space there? That is a whole different subject. And even the Calypso Monarch would not have had, so the North Stand don't get filled again. So at that time they scrap the North Stand, that's it. Right? In terms of, so the things keeps one way in the grandstand. And so it's a whole, you know, there's plenty of things to, and as I say, that audience, that is the problem too.
Because one of the things I have actually tried on many occasions for a carnival, if we could go on location on the stage, the Savannah stage, because to me that is one of the most iconic visuals of my country in my life as a child watching the competitions on that stage. How unique it is because you have an audience behind your audience in front. This is long open-air stage, right? It has a very distinct look. Any Trinbagonian that sees that knows exactly what it is.
And then, you see, well, not going from Kaiso to even the mass, the kind of attendance you used to have when the band's going across the stage and things. If you watch, you ain't seen the audience. So it's a number of things that boy, you know?
I mean, we had to get back to your concert, which is tomorrow night. But just to wrap this up, I mean, do you have concerns? Do you think, is there light at the end of the tunnel for Calypso to turn things around?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know there's a few young guys.
Really good from me. Exactly, so we're thinking alike. It could come and Calypso making a rebound again now. In the sense of, you know, you have to get the younger people involved, you have to, you know what I mean? And the messages, because at the time the Calypsonian was the newsman. The Calypsonian was the man. That is where it was. It's just the thing revolving, you know, and social media come and, right?
Yes, all of that.
So then people used to leave the house and run out. When they hear somebody, wife, a man, some prominent man, and woman leave him, and they used to come in the Calypso tent in the night and you're hearing it.
Because you want to hear it.
Because you want to hear it.
I actually would think it's Calypso then is like comedy now because comedy now will talk about all that stuff and make you laugh.
Yeah.
Right? So it's entertainment and also in a way.
Or a magistrate and somebody get away and wherever. Serious thing, and all they used to come in the tent again.
Yeah.
Look, the gobs are flying and the thing from some in space and thing used to come in the Kaiso tent and get that, but now with social media, bow. So, but Kaiso still has the role, eh?
Well, yes, and this is the thing, because comedy still happens with social media. In fact, what you see on social media, you want to hear the joke. So I guess now it is what we see on social media, we should want to hear the Kaiso. Why we don't want to hear the Kaiso?
Yeah, but I'm not saying that more local stuff, you used to crowd the places, and the Kaisonan was very prominent.
I mean, like I said, because now I'm old enough to look back and say, listen, I understand progress. I understand building things up, but
it
there was
mustn't be
something
to the detriment of.
Because it felt different. It felt warmer. It felt more genuine, us, as opposed to maybe what we have now, which is some amalgamation of us influenced by other cultures. But live at 75 tomorrow night.
Live at 75. Tomorrow night, City Hall. You will get some contenders, you know, the same karate I tell you about, young and restless, and what have you. And you have Extempo. Because I just want to say that I'm one of the few Calypsonians who do Calypso and Extempo. So plenty Calypsonians do both. So, you know. So in my concert now is the Kaiso section. And I have Black Sage and Myron B. And myself and Manzel and Guy Yanks.
Doing some Extempo.
Doing Extempo. You know? Because one of my signature songs is You Can't Buy One. You can't buy an Extempo. Yeah, you could buy a Calypso and go and win the Monarch, but you can't buy an Extempo. You have to be able to Extempo. Pull that thing from my hat, watch it, and, you know? And I want to say that...
Which is not too dissimilar to some rap stars where you had a freestyle. I'm just saying, somebody same skills. Somebody same skills.
So much that I am the person responsible. I tried to sell it to them boys and it happened. And I did do it for about 3 years now. I said the similarity with Soka and Kaiso's family. And I tried to tell them for us, you realize there's a freestyle competition now, right? And there's a freestyle Monarch. A Soca, Extempo Monarch and a freestyle Monarch on the same night.
Yes.
So I introduced, I am the person. I don't like to beat too much drum and thing. But I went and talked to them boys. I said, oh, there's family. So we have a freestyle. And 3 years now, you have a freestyle competition. Right? 3D win the last 2. Myron B win, Squeezy Rankin win the one before that. And Myron B won the first one. So we had 4 soca, freestyle, just what you're saying there. So freestyle, just like soca and calypso, I had enough experience to try to bring that, and it's starting to happen.
So tomorrow night, 8 p.m., 150 for the tickets.
$450.
Which is
in City Hall.
Not that expensive now for a live show. And I'll be honest, you have so many people on this lineup. My concern is not that you have enough people, but that you might have too many people. This is a packed lineup,
boy. We can manage that. Because one song, and you know.
Yeah, of course.
I ain't going to do no million songs in my segment, and you know, and then we come back and be good.
And I mean, this is not the first time you have thrown a concert on your
birthday. No, I have been doing this for years.
Quite some time.
Yeah, I've been doing this for years, and when the pandemic has stopped.
Yes, you did one
and then,
online.
Yeah, and then we come now into this. Last year I couldn't do it because the election was this Saturday, my birthday time now.
Right.
How people look forward to this show.
Yes.
My birthday show.
Yes, because...
But, and we had so much thing. When I started to talk there, so much thing we could have to, but we cover a good bit. Maybe
I mean,
next time,
we almost out of time. The time flew by, and all. The time flew by for me. But folks, tomorrow night, right? So that's why I want to emphasize the point. It's tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Port of Spain, right? Do not miss it.
City Hall Auditorium.
And it's a double celebration, 75th birthday, 60 years in the art form.
That's why I could talk all that I was talking.
I know, well, that's why I asked, because, you know, I rarely get the chance to talk to one of the men themselves that was there that could speak to these histories. You pulling out names I don't even think I might have heard the name before. I might not even hear the songs of some of these guys.
Going to so much more. But as I say, you could only do a certain thing and among a certain, you know.
Well, you know what? Hopefully we'll have some more time.
You work that out and we could always, I always available. God willing, I available.
So folks, in the meantime, don't miss live at 75. Diamond Jubilee, City Hall tomorrow night. And of course.
And I want to add one little more thing, you know.
Sure.
Going from how we talking the traditions, when you come and you hear these kaisos and you hear what and you enjoy yourself and whatever, I have Sweet Ann there. And if you know who is Sweet Ann, Sweet Ann is a lady that is in the savannah with bacon shack and thing. Even the foreigners, not even is there. Why Sweet Ann? Over all them years, they want the bacon shack and Jira and thing, you know. And Sweet Ann, I am privileged that I have Sweet Ann in my concert. So people running the bar say, boy, that bacon shack, boy, that woman. So when you get a nice program, you have a nice bacon shack at Jira, wherever you want, Jira chicken, wherever. Same thing, corn soup, Sweet Ann there with it.
Well,
so it's perfect.
Good entertainment and good food.
For 150.
For 150. Well, with that said, we're more or less out of time. So we'll close things out there. Mr. Contender, Mr. John.
But thanks for having me. And keep up this forum. Great. We need a lot of this.
Well, we try on WSN. I will say this: WSN, our bosses, our producers, and other members, other show hosts, not just myself. We do our best, particularly about our culture for carnival, for calypso.
And trust me, don't find that out of place or wherever. I know a number of people from who might be able, so maybe I will always call you and I will always mention that, and you go get some of the same thing you get from me here, if that is all right with you.
Of course.
So you know what I'm saying?
One of the things that has come out now for people in the media is the concern about the lack of chronicling a lot of the history.
Some people from my, talking to you and somewhere I do, them could do.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
We'll work it out.
But we go link, all right?
We'll work it out. Folks, we'll do something. But this is Talking Points, so, usually we on current events. Today, I wanted to switch things up because we have spoken about the culture at various times before. We got an opportunity here to promote part of the culture happening on Friday night. Don't miss it. But it's time to go. No phone calls today because I don't want to start up something and we can only take one phone call or two. That won't be fair. You could call in tomorrow, but until then, have a good day. Remember your allegiance to the Republic and to each other. And you know what? We need to start remembering our allegiance to the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. Stay safe. It's nice to be nice. We'll see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Contenders say he's doing it live at 75 in his big annual birthday concert as he celebrates his Diamond Jubilee in the art form, 60 years. Friday, 24th April at City Hall Auditorium with some of the biggest calypso and extempo stars, featuring all-rounder and the Hendrickson family, Johnny King, Twiggy, Hamidullah, Kaiso Mack, Master G, the youthful Jamie Edwards, Scaro, Dr. Will B with extempo Bacchanal by Black Sage, Myron B, Niall Manswell, Gary Ramps, and the birthday boy himself, Contender. MCs Shirley Hendrickson and Omari Ashby. Sound system by Junior Soy Production. Get your tickets now at only $150 at Crosby St. James, Tugo North Zone office, and at the door on the night of the show. It's birthday vibes for Contender's 75th birthday, Friday, 24th April, City Hall Auditorium, Knox Street, Port of Spain, from 8 p.m. as Contender celebrates his Diamond Jubilee in Calypso.
WESN